VP people,
We are your hosts, Taylor and
Enrico
this is Unfiltered Conversations,
Global.
where we have the conversations that you want to have.
But you don't.
We have the conversations that you should have,
But you don't.
and the conversations that you overall just avoid. So jump in with us today for this episode of
Unfiltered Conversations Global.
Did you so as both of you guys have struggled with those questions and then the following answers that you give yourself, like you described, that maybe it's me, maybe I did something, and maybe there's something about me that he doesn't like. Have you guys found those answers to be something that affects the way you view yourself? Like, do you value yourself less because, like, oh well, if my own dad didn't want me, that kind of thing? Do those narratives roll in your head, or is it much more of like, well, that was his stupid choice, I know I'm pretty awesome? Do I have the right to hold something against this person who has been absent? Or yes, but just like God has the right to hold something against us in that respect, and we release it to him, or did he releases us from that obligation, you've done the same.
And if they're missing in action, then you have to pick so many role models in your life that some things that you would have achieved in a very small span of time, it takes you longer to achieve them because, like, you've got some of those baggage that you do not have a teacher. The world was your teacher. Like, the entire community becomes your teacher. Like, now you're learning from everyone. But you see, like, when you learn from your father at the first instant, or your mother, it changes a lot about you when you're growing up. Like, if the world is the one that is teaching you, there are many things that you can fall prey to. Yeah.
So if you had mentioned earlier about becoming a believer, and how big of a shift that was for you. What age was that, and what specifically in that journey most affected the way that you interacted or viewed your dad?
Like, now I'm because now this one I'm shifting now to a point where, like, now my mother where my mother now took me. Now, at this particular point, I started living with my mother.
How oldish?
That was like when, that was 8.
Okay.
Yeah, 8 years. So now, this point is when my mother I think my mother got born again around that particular period. And I could see my mother pray. I could see her always praying and going to church. And I really liked what was happening in her life. And I really desired the God that my mother was serving. I desired whatever my mother was doing. And that's why, like, I talked about role models, like, seeing my mother do those things, I desired them. Because she's my first contact. And whatever good thing that she's doing, it impacts my life. So that's the point where I did not know anything to do with salvation. My mother just used to say she's born again now, and she was praying. I could see her praying, singing, and I just loved what she was doing. And I remember even one day telling her, I just want to be born again. I did not understand what salvation was all about. Of course, now I properly, like, later on I came to understand what salvation is, and then I got born again. Like, now that baptism and all those other processes, like, because, like, now I understood that. But, like, the naivety where I know this is interesting because God takes us in whichever moment we are. And I felt like God really came into my life at that particular moment. And I think probably that was how life was just supposed to happen. God was supposed to come into my life at that particular moment when I was 9. And this time I had now gone to live with my mother and her mother back in the village.
Okay.
yeah, it was not for a very long time because I was only with her for like about 6 months there. So that impacted me. I got born again, and now she was preaching to me. If she's watching, I know she probably has forgotten about this. She was preaching to me, and she was telling me God loves me, and she kept on encouraging me in life. And whichever place I was in, I knew she loves me. I knew she did not have a lot have a lot to contribute in my life at that particular moment, but she loved me. So, and she really encouraged me. I think that was the most important thing that my mother gave me at that particular stage, introducing me to God. Because that really changed my entire life, because like how I perceived things became different. I just understood, even with my father, I knew he loves me and probably something has happened. I don't know what has happened, but I know like he loves me, but probably something has happened. And probably one day that thing will be corrected.
So you're obviously coming from it kind of as this kid who has been bounced around a bit and had a relationship with dad, lived with dad. You lived with mom, had your encounter with God. And then what happened after the 6 months? You went back to your dad, or you went to boarding school, or?
Now, this was so interesting because my dad had married another, my stepmother. My dad had married my stepmother. And my stepmother came with 2 other kids. And my stepmother also had 2 kids with my father. My father's sister, the eldest. Now, when that happened, he forced my father to take me back because they had to take me back. He forced my father to take me back because the question now became like, you cannot have kids that are not yours, and your kid is not there with you. So it is more like they forced him to be with me.
Yeah. They're like, how can you take care of this lady's kids?
Yes,
and not your own.
And not your own kids. So
you like your aunties?
Yeah?
You like your aunts on that side?
They're from my father's side. They're from my father's side. So, and they forced that narrative. And my father did not have a choice because, like, I think almost everyone was against him. And he had to take me. I think he did not have a choice. So he had to take me. And I felt like when he was taking me, I felt the love in him. I just don't know how that changed. I felt the love in him. I've always felt the love in him. When I interact with him, I've always felt like he loves me. But there's more to do. There's something more that happens with him. I don't know what it is. But like now, that's the time that I came to live. Now, that was like when I was in class 4 is when I was coming to live with my father again. Now almost getting to my senior primary school. Nowadays I'm like 10. Now I understand myself. Now I get things in a different perspective. Now I'm even maturer because I matured at that particular age. Now by the time I'm this age now, I've even matured more. And I'm cool. I know how to respect people. I know how to keep my space because I knew those things will happen. Many things will happen if I'm in this particular house. This is my stepmother. This is not my mother. They don't love me. And they do not have a right to love me. Because probably I do not know if I'm reminding them that my father has had
other
ladies before. I do not know. For many stepmothers who are out there, I don't know what goes into their minds. If a child is in the home, is it a reminder of like either the man has been unfaithful or the man has had other ladies before you? I have never understood that perspective. Okay. So this is me now coming to my father, him being forced to take me in. And he took me in. And that's the other part. Now I'll allow you to go before I continue.
So as you were growing and you were kind of asking these questions, and you had mentioned that you had started praying and kind of turning stuff over and saying, God, like, so in that journey of turning to God with your struggles with your dad, does it ever feel like it's resolved? Or is it still something there, but that you've kind of handed off? Does it make sense, what I'm asking?
Yeah, I've
Okay.
understood. So what kept me going is my mom usually told me that even if your dad is not around, just remember God is with you and he loves you, he's your dad, and he'll provide for you everything that you need. So I always kept that in my mind. And whenever I remember about my dad, I remind myself, God is with me, he loves me. Yeah, that's what kept me going. Yeah, so
And your mom instilled that quite young then?
pardon?
Your mom instilled that in you when you were quite young?
Yeah,
Okay. And so you had mentioned you have 3 siblings?
yes.
They knew your dad?
I don't know.
How much? Oh, but you're
Okay,
how?
well, my mom told me that we are from the same dad, so I don't know. My mom knows. She's the one who knows. Yeah,
Okay. But it's not something you've talked with your siblings about?
no.
Okay. Sawa.
You're getting emotional.
No, I just, like, in my life, in working all of the different populations and having friends in all sorts of different areas of life, it just reminds me about how different my life is because my dad. And I have a half sister that my dad had before he got married to my mom, but like recently before, like less than a year or something. My oldest brother and then my half sister. And her life is completely different than all 4 of my dad's kids that are from obviously my mom. And so I can literally like see shared genetic material, just the only thing missing is that this person was not allowed contact with my dad. My dad was more than happy and arms open, but the mom was not wanting to engage, not wanting to allow it, and was talking bad about my dad. And I just see that even now, like, we've kind of integrated her, we've integrated into our family, like when we have get-togethers, she comes, and she's just very different, not in like a bad way, like, oh, you're different, but there's so much I know missing from her childhood experience. And so when I'm hearing you guys share, and like even the point of where you had to like kind of own your own life, like, no, I have to do X, Y, Z, I have to be this person. Like I still have my dad now. And I still worry about not being able to talk to him because of death. And so like I hear your guys' story, and like I there's, you know, empathy and sympathy, and like, but for me it's like I can't even fathom. And so I really appreciate you guys helping me and educating me on this, because it's something I as an adult, over 35 years old, I still dread that moment of not being able to talk to my dad again until heaven. And you're experiencing this now / your whole life.
Yeah.
And so I admire the way that you have both turned things over to God, the way that you have both decided to handle and to push on through this reality that you're living in. But as you both go forward, do you still have hope that relationship could change? Like one day, Betty, Dad is at the door, or Eric, I want to meet my granddaughter.
Yeah, you know, to a point where you get to know, when you get to know God, it's more than you. It's more than you. It stopped being about you. It becomes about the commandments that He laid before us, which were the 2 most powerful commandments. Love God with all your
Heart,
with all
mind,
your
soul, strength.
soul, with all your strength, with everything that you have, and love your neighbor as you love yourself. And my father is still my neighbor. she's still my neighbor. You're still my neighbor. And it's not that it's not that me as Eric, I'm a good person, like 110%. You see, you know, like I've been 110. There's someone who's complained. There's something probably that I've done, and I'll be like I'll be in this particular point where I'll seek someone to forgive me if I've wronged them. So I cannot say that I can't forgive or I can't allow them into my space. I still have that hope, and if it comes, we will move on like normal, because we do not know what goes around the world. Because like when I became a Christian, I understand there's more to do with what is it called? There's more to do with forgiveness. There's more to do with just allowing God to take charge. And we were created with God, and God loved us to a point where I'll allow them. I'll allow them in my space because I've been forgiven as well.
Hey.
I've been forgiven.
Okay, Mary.
Yes.
You.
Yeah. Also to echo him,
Yeah.
if he appears, I'll forgive him, because I'm not that perfect. I also have my weaknesses and my sins too. And I pray to God that he may give me a heart of forgiving him. Yeah.
And we also do not know what they were going through.
Yes.
You know how many movies would be incredibly boring if you had people like this in them? Because you don't have the continuation of drama and, oh, well, you did this to me. It's just like, wow, you guys, that is like...
Because like, even if you bring the drama, to what end?
In theory, like, I can understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like, in theory, like, you know, like, people talk about, like, church answers or platitudes or whatever, like, all those things of, like, But this is a, like, real-life application that shows the power of the gospel, the power of what Christ has called us to do. Because I have met people that have used drugs and alcohol and abused other people, because of hurts and bitterness that they had carried towards other people. And right now, I'm sitting in between two people who have the right, I don't know, like they have legitimate complaint against someone, and we're saying if they're here, like the forgiveness is there. I hope you guys are able to grasp that. Like, that's very significant, especially if you. Actually, it doesn't matter if you have had a father or not had a father. You should be able to understand the significance of what both of them are saying. That this young lady who is fresh out of high school and this man who is fresh into parenthood are saying, yeah, if my dad, who hasn't really been there or hasn't been there at all, were to be here, I'd forgive him.
Okay,
Like-
you know what forgiveness does? You see, if you forgive, you also have a chance to heal.
Yes.
Yeah. So if I forgive him, I'll be able to forget whatever we've gone through and start a new life.
With him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because sometimes, as she's saying, what lead people into depression is lack of forgiveness.
Yeah.
What lead people into drug abuse is lack of forgiveness. Because you're looking at an scapegoat. You're looking at you are
A way not to deal with it.
yeah, a way not to deal with it. But like, it's more like when you're addicted to drugs, you have to look for a way to deal with that problem. And as I was growing up, I learned how to deal with it because I already knew there's a problem. And how do I?
Both
deal?
of you expressed at a young age. It's
Yes.
like
Yes.
something's up.
Yeah. It is not the normal. So there's a problem. How do you deal with this problem? Either you drown yourself in drugs and it destroys you completely, and you lack this chance of like trying to help someone who's out there, probably who's gone through this particular period, and they've not been able to handle it properly, and they've gone the other way, and they've ended up being bitter in life, because once you become bitter with them for being absent, it is a reflection. I'll still be bitter with life. I'll be bitter with almost everyone.
Who deals with the bitterness? Does the other person or do you?
Yes.
You're the one
person-
with the
yeah.
bitterness inside, like
Yeah.
you are tasting it.
Yeah, the other person does not. The other person, they live on, they move on with their life. They even, in fact, probably they don't even think about it. Probably they don't care. I do not know. Maybe they deal about it, or maybe it is crushing them even more. Probably when they hear me talking about this, maybe it might speak something to them. So we are always accountable for our own lives. Always. And that's why, like, I understand the part where you'll not go to heaven with your wife or your child. Everyone will create their own path. So how do you start creating your own path at a reasonably good time? Is when you go through adversary. When you go through this kind of adversary, they are painful. I will tell you, they are very painful, because every normal person desires a complete set of a home. And that's why if your father was to remarry now, you'll be so angry with him. It's because he's destroying what you guys value so much. And you see, it goes also to my step siblings and siblings. I did not choose. I did not choose this man to sire my mother for I to be there. And I'm the wrong person if you're fighting me. I'm the wrong person you're fighting. I'm the very wrong person that you're fighting. It's because I did not choose. I would have, in fact, probably I would have been, if we were all choosing to be born, maybe, some of us would have chosen to be born in different countries. Yeah, but like, God had a reason. Like, I appreciate, and I will not choose any other parents other than the one that I have. I will just pray for them, but like, those are the parents that God knew they are fit for me. I will not choose any other parents, and I still love them.
Even though you had a difficult time.
Even though I had a difficult time,
Even though you said, God, why are you punishing me?
I asked God, and when I got born again, I came to realize everything that happens in life has a reason. And we might not know the reason now. We might end up knowing the reason later. Maybe there's a cycle that is being broken for my family for there to be good fathers. I do not know, but I had to think through that.
Yeah. And it's interesting that both of you guys, when you talked about families, like future families or current family, like fatherhood was really important.
Yes.
And like the value you placed on that, even though it was, and like, it might not even be even though, it might be because it was missing. Like not a lot of ladies, when they're young, will pray for a good husband.
Yeah.
And so it's. So as you look towards the future, is there an event in your future that you would try to even plan to have your dad there or be a part of?
For me, I think most of the events that he was supposed to be part of are almost over.
Okay.
The other events will be more of the grandchildren. But like events to do with me, because graduations, those are the events.
Yeah.
Maybe birthday that are still there, that we can still celebrate as we...
Next year when you turn 45.
You guys are my Gen Z. This guy is making me old. So, like, I'm thinking, still, if there's still something that is happening, I'll always tell them, this is happening in my life, and hey, do you want to come? Because for me, most of the things that I was doing by inviting my father to all these functions where like I did not need a penny was not to do, it was not about me.
This was about him.
It was about him. That was the most interesting thing. It was to honor him. So that when he sits with his colleague, it's an achievement for him as well. But like, you see, like even in my family, I'm the first one to do a proper wedding.
Hey, yeah, good point.
You understand? And him coming there and handing me over, that's so honorable. I did not want him to contribute for the wedding. I didn't. I just wanted his presence.
He missed out on that honor.
Yeah. So
Hey.
it's not about like sometimes you want to make it. Those I came to realize marriage is what is mine, but these other things it's honoring. Like my mother is honored, and I just feel good. She feels good.
If you watch the Christmas episode, his mom was on it.
Yes.
She's an awesome lady.
Yes.
Fantastic.
She feels good in her, like in the presence of her peers. She's honored. And that's what I want to give. That's what I wanted to give the two. So, but like you see, that has happened. And that's how life was. And that's why I was saying he did not turn up for any event.
So your mom, was she at your wedding?
Yes. She was the planner of the wedding.
So I've met Eric's mom. I would never.
And in fact, she invited my father. For your information.
Having met Eric's mom, I only learned this part of the story recently, and it shocked me because of the relationship that he has with his mom, even though there was that time early on where it was broken or what was not ideal. And so it's amazing. Anyway, so we'll get to Mary. Is there anything future-wise, event-wise, that you're like, I would love to plan for him to be there?
Yeah, I believe I'm going to do a wedding. So,
Kesho,
no, in future, yeah, in future,
tomorrow is the future.
yeah, but not the tomorrow.
Okay,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
So if it's possible my dad to be there, I would be very honored. Yeah. But also, I want to make my mom proud by bringing the respect into our home, by getting married in the right way, in the presence of God. And if my dad could be there, I would be very happy. But, no hope. No hope because
Okay.
where to find him,
Yeah.
I don't have any idea where I would find him. So, no hope.
So just to give a little background experience, which I'm only learning the proper designation of which tribes we're fighting. In 2007, after the election in 2006,
Post-election violence.
there was a ton of violence, in particular between two, or is it three tribes? Two tribes.
Yeah, I think it was
Just-
Kikuyu, Luos, and Kalenjin.
Okay, so it was three.
No, it was across. I think it was across, but the Kikuyus were affected majorly, those who are living in the Rift Valley.
Yeah, so if Kikuyus, which is one tribe that lives in generally central, some of that tribe would live in other areas. They were attacked in some area. There was a church in Western that
There are churches that were banned.
yeah, everybody
with
locked
people
inside and they just burned the church. And so that's when Mary talks about that was happening and we left that area. That's what she means. Like there was major stuff going on between the tribes that was dangerous for everyone. Doesn't matter age, woman, man, doesn't matter. And so that's why that they had left that area. And man, so in the midst of that is where. And do-
Sometime- okay.
Go ahead.
sorry. Sometimes I even think maybe my dad died in the chaos. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, that would be particularly jarring to find that this many years later. Because it's if you had known that earlier, then There's a whole set of very different because there's a whole set of emotions you're not holding towards your dad. You know, but not knowing, like that's very, very difficult. Is there anything that you guys would want to say to somebody who is, whether it's they're in their teens or whether maybe they're even younger, maybe they're watching this podcast and we need to get some cartoon coloring books or something for them, I don't know, but something that you would say to a younger person that is in your situation, that is mom, it's just mom, or it's just mom, or they're bouncing around between relatives and seeing these other things, or maybe both parents aren't there, like anything that you guys would particularly want to say to them, to say, hey, this is, you know, this is my advice to you, or how you should go forward.
It's a very hard, because the experience is so different and we get crushed differently. And there are those who care, there are those who do not care at all. But like, for us who've experienced God, I think for me, I'll say God has been my beacon across all this journey. And what I can advise a younger person to always know there's hope. Like, here I am. And if you allow yourself to be defined by those things that happened or that happen around you so much, they might either impact you positively or negatively. And not all of us have got a strong personality, as I do have a strong personality, that I can push on with things despite of anything. So for me, it will be more to do with God. Nothing more than God. Yeah. Because I do not know. I cannot meet that person that has gone the other way and say, why didn't you do this? Because you cannot process their emotion. You cannot process what they're going through. Because it's so different for all of us.
Okay, what I would say is, just to second him, God is everything. Even if that dad is absent, like, you have God, and he says that he's our Father, yeah, and he will give us whatever we need, yeah, because actually, without God, I don't think, okay, it's vanity without God. Everything is vanity. Yeah, I would tell them that.
It's a delicate part where, like, because there are quite a lot of emotions that someone is experiencing. Like for me, when I was growing up, I experienced quite a lot of emotions. And that's to a point where I said I had to mature really fast, because if I continue beating myself, I'll not have done my schooling to the point where I've done them. I'll not have become a professional lawyer. That I will not have
helping friends out in traffic court.
Yes, helping. Yeah, you remember the other time. Yeah. So I will not be able to do these things. One thing that I can say, like, we all have something that God has for all of us. And don't lose hope if you're a young man and you've gone, a young man or a young woman, if you're going through these moments, whatever problem you think is big, there's no bigger problem that you've encountered. There'll be no bigger problem. So long as you're alive, everything can be changed. Like your life, they normally say, a full stop is put on your life once you're 6 feet under. But if you're not 6 feet under, then it means there's a lot that is still going to happen in your life. And you'll hear stories of people who didn't have anything. They became members of parliament, they became politicians, they became all these things. It's because they did not give up. So what I can tell any young man who's gone through these difficult moments out there, the big thing is don't give up, because God is not yet done with you. There's a lot for you out there.
So as you guys, very much appreciate those words. As you guys look back or look towards the now or whatever, are there people that you would say have stepped in and say, and I don't want to say filled that fatherly role, but have been positive male examples for you in your life that have somewhat filled that gap or helped to satisfy part of that longing or that missing gap? Does it make sense what I'm asking?
Yes.
Okay.
For me, my mom is my everything. She has always acted like me. Okay, she's my mom and she's still my dad. Yes. So there's no one like has taken the space over my dad. No one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, there are people who've filled that space. First of all, it's my mother. Let me just thank her. Because, like, sometimes, maybe I don't appreciate her a lot, like in person. But
Like we all do with our parents.
yes. But, like,
We don't go home and say, thanks, Mom, for being great. It's just like, Mom, where's dinner?
Yeah.
Or whatever it is.
But I think she's the best mother that someone can ask for. You've interacted with her. I think even you'll want to loan her for just a moment.
She's my Kenyan mom.
Yeah. So yeah, she's filled the gap like properly. Despite of all those things, every moment that I have been with her has been so impactful and has been so guiding in my life. And even the most amazing things, my mom's bro, who's been a father figure to me.
So your uncle on your mom's side, right?
Yeah, my uncle,
Okay.
my mom, my mother's brother. Yes. That's what it means.
I know, but you said my mom's bro.
Yeah, my mother.
Just wanted to make sure everybody
Yeah.
understood. You're talking about your actual uncle.
Yeah, him is the one that has filled that void massively. And I think, for me, he's my father. He's nurtured me. And there's a point where I was trying to understanding being a father is just not siring a kid. The most important part of a father is nurturing the kid. And I can say my uncle has nurtured me too. Credits I can give to. And I've not lived with him, but like I've communicated with him on many occasions, but it feels like we've been with him in the same house. It feels like I've been interacting with him because he's miles away. He's in a different country and I'm in a different country. He's stepped in, guided me as a son, and I can credit every achievement, education-wise and life-wise, business-wise, I can credit it to him. Because he's the one that will want to know how I'm doing. Even to my marriage, I credit my school, my marriage, my life, I credit that to him. The two of them with my mother. They've stepped in and I think they've helped a lot because I usually don't feel that gap that much because they're there. Because if you ask me who my father is, I'll easily say, it's my uncle. If you ask everything, like my uncle, my mother, and I've got other relatives that have stepped in and guided me in other things. But those two, I think they are my beacon.
So, well, I think that this is one of those times where the topic is so big that we will for sure have to come back to talk about it again.
Yes.
Whether it be with Eric as a host again, or Eric as a guest again, or Mary as a guest again.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many things like I've wanted to ask, but I feel like my brain has short-circuited because of your guys' answers. Like I literally don't know that I would be able to handle it the way you guys have handled this very difficult aspect. So I think in particular, I know for me, but also for people that might be listening, like for me when I'm wronged, it's very easy for me to stay in that truth. I have been wronged. There is need of justice. There is need of something to happen. because I've been wronged. But what Christ calls us to is to acknowledge that and then move to the next step, which is what he did, is that I've been wronged, but I forgive. And I think today, what our viewers and what I know I have seen and learned is the depth of the power of forgiveness. Because to forgive someone who has an obligation to you, has not fulfilled it at all, or has intermittently, or to whatever extent, and then just to forgive and welcome, I don't think is insignificant at all. I don't think that God thinks it's insignificant. I think our viewers can also see that's pretty serious in an approach to problems. And like I said in the movies, like if you look at someone in a movie that has a problem with somebody else and ask, okay, if they forgave them, would there be any more movie? There wouldn't. There's so many of these movies. Like I even watch the Smurfs, like the second Smurfs movie. Like it's very much about a stepfather-son relationship and forgiveness and misunderstanding. And it's like there's so much of movies that is just made up of people not forgiving. And it's not as believers, it's our obligation. But as it pertains to do I have the right to hold something against this person who has been absent? Or yes. But just like God has the right to hold something against us in that respect, and we release it to him, and he releases us from that obligation, you've done the same. So primarily I just want to commend, encourage, and hold both of you guys up in the way that you have responded to the way your fathers have treated you guys. I think you guys are awesome, and even in that response, just shows how much how much your dads are missing from great kids that they could be proud of.
Mine is missing a lot.
Yeah, including a grandkid, and someday grandkids for you as well. And so those of you guys out there who are in a similar situation or struggling, or parents have possibly passed away, or whatever it is, they're not around, and you feel like you can hold on to this bitterness, and you can hold on to this well, they should have done this, they should have been there for my football game, they should have been there for my graduation. Yeah, all of that is true. But I think you can see some people here that show you a different route, that holding on to that is not the victory that you think it's going to be, that actually just releasing it over to God and forgiving them is the route that will bring about the perspective, the life, and the ability to move forward that you actually want. So we want to thank you guys for joining Mary and Eric and me today as we've discussed fatherlessness here in Kenya. So I think Eric will sign us off as usual. We look forward to you guys joining us for more episodes. Like, subscribe, all that stuff that you're supposed to do on socials, whatever. We appreciate you guys watching and engage. If you had some questions that we can log for the next time that we cover this topic, please ask them. Again, my brain is completely scrambled with responses and the character of the two awesome people sitting next to me. So thank you guys for tuning in. And
yeah, guys, thank you as well. Thank you, Mandeva, for being a great host today without me. But this is a very sensitive topic, and I know it affects quite a lot of people. I know in Eastlands, where I've grown in, you guys, you will tell us if you want us to continue with this segment, because there's more. We did not talk about the father who's present but not present. Also, the point where I was living with him, he was present but not present. So let us know if you want us to talk about that.
Yeah, for sure.
And we will talk about that. And I know most of you, in fact, those guys who've grown in Nairobi, the Eastlands area, where parents have been so busy in looking for food and school fees, and most of the time you've not seen them. Chip in. Let us have this conversation, and don't feel alone. Some of us have gone through this, and we can help one another so that you don't drown in the aspect of drugs and all those kind of things. Thank you very much, Mary, for coming.
Absolutely.
And
Mary is significantly different in age than we are, and she had the courage to come on and
Generation
to-
Alpha.
Yeah, are you
No,
Gen Z?
no, I'm a Gen Z.
Hey, we got a Gen Z. Alpha's like they're like 2 years old, bro.
Oh, okay.
We discussed this on a podcast. Go back and watch it. So yes, I know at this age, there's no way that I would be able to come on a podcast and share the way that you have. So thank you so much for coming and for sharing and for just being an awesome person that God has made.
See
See you later.